You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Time to Level Up podcast. You may be listening to this in the middle of the summer, and you may be asking yourself, what happened to that goal I had of exercising every day? Well, there is a reason why gym enrollments go up at the start of the new year. There is a reason why gym enrollments maybe go up in May, when we realize we're all going to have to put a swimsuit on in a few months. People realize that they might have overindulged and they decide or sometimes become panicked that it is time for them to get back in shape. And I don't know about you, but also as we age, I think we realize, I better get my act together. However, sometimes within a few weeks or months, those visits to the gym or those every other day Peloton classes get pared down to maybe once or twice a week, maybe once a month, and other things start to take precedence because you feel like you are busy. And then before long, I hear people say, oh my gosh, why can't I just find the time to work out? And I ask, well, why can't you? And then they'll say, because I'm busy or tired or distracted or my kids are getting in the way. But the real reason is pretty simple. We don't commit to exercise. And if you truly want to make yourself stronger or healthier or fitter or more successful in anything, we've got to stay committed and overcome those obstacles or those barriers that are holding you back. So today, I am talking to my personal trainer, Vanessa Gregor, who is owner of Studio Fitness in Fishers, Indiana. And she and I have been working out with her for almost 15 years, or maybe even more than 15 years. And she is one reason that I am able to stay in a routine. But there's also lots of other reasons. And she and I talk about that. We talk about what it takes to make exercise part of your routine. We talk about that it is more than just showing up. It is a lot to do with what you're thinking. It really was an interesting conversation for me. Also, it was super fun because I know Vanessa pretty well. So if you're someone that says, I need to stay in a routine, I need to get into a routine, whatever that is, this episode is for you because this is something that comes up over and over and over again when I am talking to my clients about their goals. So sit back, buckle up, and listen in to my conversation with Vanessa.
So I am Vanessa Gregor. I go by the nickname Nez. That was kind of created in high school. And it was Vanessa by my ex-boyfriend. And then my husband turned it into Nez. And he actually has my name tattooed on his right arm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyway, that nickname kind of stuck. And I'm from the Netherlands originally, born and raised, and came to the United States twice. I came here when I was 20, and then we came back at 22. First time just didn't work out, came back to the Netherlands for immigration reasons, and then came back here second time and stayed. Been here almost 20 years, been a personal trainer, really grown through education, learned a lot. When I started my training career at Bally Total Fitness back in 2003, I had a mentor that really, really helped me out. Her name was Deb Knapp. She kind of gave me a strong foundation to then grow on and build upon. Yeah, that's kind of where I found what really strikes me, what really, what my strengths are. And out of that, I over the years, grew a personal training studio. And here we are, Studio Fitness.
There you are in your own building. Okay, so 20 years ago when you were at Bally Total Fitness, like what made you say, hey, I want to be a personal trainer?
So I was a bartender for a long time, bartender, waitress. And I realized that in that profession, you, to a degree, don't help people up. You're dealing with people and you help them down. That's how I visualized it.
Interesting.
So I knew I wanted to make a change and help people up. And I've always been into sports, always been into fitness. That's just always been a passion. It's always been an outlet for me. That's kind of where the whole idea of becoming a personal trainer came from. I didn't want to be a bartender anymore and help people down. I wanted to train people physically, mentally, and help people up, be positive, possibly change lives around, both physically, but as well as mentally, because the two really go hand in hand.
Yeah. So I find, just as me being your client, which I think I was thinking about this morning as I was driving home. So I already saw Vanessa today, all these people that are listening. We're recording this and it's like almost 3 p.m, but I did see her at 6:15 a.m. this morning. So as I was driving home, I was thinking about when I first met you, which I think was probably 15 years ago, because I think my daughter was probably, or maybe even 16 years ago, because she was probably 1.5, maybe. And I have found that for myself, like the physical fitness piece is one part, but then the mental fitness as it ties to the physical fitness, or the mental health or constructs as it ties to the physical fitness, is just as important in a strange sort of way.
You are very right.
I thought, like, I was also trying to think back when I first met you, Rebecca was a baby, and I'm going to guess in my brain was something like, I need to get back in shape. I don't know, but that's what I'm guessing. So I probably was in it more for like, hey, let me get back in shape physically. But over time, I have clearly realized that it's mental fitness as well. So how do you see that in your clients, or what do you see?
So you see that a lot because you realize how mental it is when people open up. When you start moving, especially in a setting like this, a private studio where it's not a gym, it evokes feelings, it evokes emotions. And when you have a rapport with your trainer, you get to share certain things. And some people share more than others. Don't take me wrong. Some people are very introverted. Others are definitely more extroverted. But you, nonetheless, even when you keep it inside, you can still give it a place, be it dumping it at the studio through your sweat, right? Or dumping it through actual communication. But it's still, fitness allows, it gives an opportunity to dump some of your stuff. It's very much goes hand in hand. The one evokes the other. I think it goes both ways. To give you an example, if you come in a real pissy mood, you're grumpy, your trainer will feel that. We feel that here because we're so close, it's so close niche. Your trainer can kind of guide you through your movements and through that, and kind of through your way of thinking, and hopefully send you away with just a more positive mindset, but also just feeling better. If you come in super happy, your trainer will feed off of that. Yeah, you'll probably feel even better or more euphoric after a workout. I very often ask my clients, how do you feel? How was that? I cannot ever remember a client saying, oh my God, I feel horrible. You know what I mean? That's just not an answer you get. People always feel better after movement. And I think they definitely feel better moving their worries away. That's sometimes how I feel it. You move it away.
Yes. I think sometimes when I go in there, I'm definitely tired since it's 6 a.m., but I never leave. I might feel like you did your job and I've had a great workout, so I'm tired in that sense, but it also has brought energy to the surface, which maybe was still sleeping.
See, and I think in the mornings you get those clients that are extremely tired, but then they kind of have a renewed energy when they walk out. It's like, okay, I was really tired when I came in.
Exactly.
I feel good
exactly.
now. Your
Exactly.
evening and afternoon clients is often similar, but the opposite. They come in kind of already drained. Their brain is drained. Their bodies are drained from a long day of work or with the kids or whatever. And then your workout kind of, again, gives them renewed energy, which then they're going to shut down. But nonetheless, it's always a renewed energy, even though your clients kind of show up with a different energy at the time. But nonetheless, you try to pump positivity. That's what it's about. You pump positivity back into someone. Because that's really what fitness is about. You can't do 10 push-ups if you don't believe you can. You have to believe you can.
That's true. My legs will be straight one day.
I love that. They will be. They will be.
When my legs are straight when I walk, but when I lay on my back and I put my legs up, they're never straight, but they're getting there. All right. So that actually good segue into talk to me about goals. Like, what do you find when people say, do they usually have a goal? If they do have a goal, like, because that's a big thing in fitness. A lot of times people have like this goal in mind, but how do they get there?
I kind of see a goal, and I say this based on my experience, as a very loose, moving object, if you will, and almost like a bubble.
I completely agree.
It's almost like a bubble, and the goal is inside, but the bubble is like a soap bubble, and it moves around. It's never solidified in its place. It is movable, and sometimes that bubble pops and you have to come up with another one, and that's okay. To give a great example of myself, I worked out with my trainer, Matt Dugan, for 10 plus years, loved his workouts. And just through circumstances that ended last year through COVID, and I had to find a different way to put workouts in my routine. I knew I didn't want to put the same amount of time into it. The workouts were very extensive. But I knew I needed and wanted to move because for as long as I've been alive, pretty much, I've been moving, working out, moving, enjoying movement and needing it. So my bubble for 10 years that was floating around at work suddenly was popped, right? I wasn't doing anything, but I knew I had to create a new bubble for myself. And so I did that. Now I'm kayaking with my puppies. I am walking a lot with my dogs, if not with my dogs, with friends. Now I'm actually combining my movement with communication and emotional support with my buddies. So actually connecting with my friends. So I found a different way of putting exercise back into my time without having to spend 10 to 12 hours a week on it.
Yes.
So this opens up time to now be with my family, to cook, to do other things besides working a full-time job and running a personal training studio. So, and it's okay. It just means change. And change is part of life. It's just a matter of, if that happens, you want to have that, there should always be a bubble floating around in your room. So if there's no bubble, that means you're goalless. But it doesn't have to mean that same bubble is always that same bubble. It can change. And we need to be open to that.
I see that all the time. So people say, so I'm obviously helping them set goals in their personal life or their business, professional life. And sometimes they get so stuck on the goal that they're missing out on the opportunity to potentially change it or tweak it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then they think if they've changed it, they've failed. It's like change equals fail. But that's not always true, right? It's not.
It's very true.
And I sometimes say, like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen if we change the goal? And the thing is, nothing can happen if we it's not to say that you failed. It's just different. So
you flow with it, right? Life is all about flow.
Right. You've got to flow.
One of my favorite sayings that my husband and I say all the time: life is what happens to you while you make different plans.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one.
So you plan all kinds of things, and then life happens. And you look back and you're like, hell, I didn't get to do that. And I wanted to do that.
Exactly.
Because but that's life. And it's the beauty of life too.
It is.
Right? It's if you can look at it that way. So kind of coming back to what you're saying, is that a failure that you live and that things, no. But it's also how you approach that.
Right. Like I think sometimes probably you see people, they're injured or something happens in their life that they're not able to move the way they want to or get to you at a certain time. I see people, like, their work situation changes, or they're all of a sudden given a different project and they can't go after the one they thought. Like, nothing's gone wrong. It's just something changed. And Something you also said that was interesting to me, you said when you had to change your own workout routine, you thought, okay, how can I integrate movement that doesn't take up as much time as potentially it was? That is something else, because a lot of times people think if I change, it's going to mean more time or more energy or more whatever, right? And it doesn't have to be
It's
that way.
very true. And it's a good point that you bring up, because many people come and they're like, how much do I have to work out? Do I have to work out 5 days a week, 6 days a week? And it's like, no, it doesn't have to look that way. But we put so much pressure on ourselves as a society, but also as humans. We just put a lot. And I think sometimes we have to do that, right? When you run a business, sometimes you have to have deadlines, because that also helps you get things done. But you also have to be able to flow with, oh, I didn't get that done today, didn't have time. Okay, no problem. I can do that tomorrow. So I'm going to dedicate 20 minutes. I have a little hole. I'm going to fix what I couldn't do today. I'll get it done. Relax, take a bath, go to bed. And it'll be fine, right? But it takes a little bit of planning. And I say exercise is the same. You plan it into your routine. You write it in your organizer. My workouts, I wrote down DSP. It was part of now I write down in my organizer, Mabel kayak. My dog and I are going to go kayaking. It's fun. And so if I have a client that's like, hey, no, after work, I'm going to go kayaking with my dog. I have an appointment with myself. So no, sorry. Right. But that's something that I had to learn. I haven't always been like that. I was that girl also that worked from 5:30 in the morning till 6:37 at night. So you learn. It's something. When I hire trainers, that's one of the things I tell them. When you're first starting and you're young, you should be putting a lot of time and effort, especially if you're wanting to open up your own business, which trainers do here. Expect to be super busy. Expect to work mornings, go home, come back in the afternoons, go home, come back in the evening. You put that effort into it. Now, the goal eventually is, after a while, after you've become more established and you build up your name, that you can start reducing your hours and you can tweak it a little bit because you've worked towards that. But you can't walk into anything. I always say you can't start at the bottom of the ladder and wanting to be on the top with one
step.
Move. It doesn't work that way. You step up the ladders, and they're little steps, and you have to be willing to take each. And too many people don't see it that way, as like the ladder. It's like there's steps to this process. You don't go from 0 to 100. You go from 0 to 10, from 10 to 20. And that's the case in life. It's the case in fitness. It's the case in business. It's in case in any kind of organization. You can't put on a Monday, put 20 projects on your calendar and expect you to do all of them in one day. It's unrealistic.
Yes.
Right?
I just had that conversation this morning with someone. They're like,
Did you?
Like, I'm always behind. I said, well, what are your expectations of yourself in any given day? And I think what they kind of see is a lot of people like to make lists, right? I mean, we all like lists, but if they don't cross everything, they're not making the list for what can I do today. They're just making the list for what can I do or what do I need to do forever, almost.
That's right.
So they're not going to get it all done, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to. So I'm like, what if you stopped making the list forever and just made a list for today of like the top 3 things? And I always say do 3 things, but
break it down.
Yeah. Break it down.
Break it down. And that's the same with exercise. The expectation, you speak of goals, clients come in, and I can speak for many of them. The goals are unrealistic. So as a trainer, we first and foremost try to work with your clients to make goals a little bit more realistic. And there comes the mental part, right? Because now it's, why do you want to look like you did when you were 16? Why? And then, is that really reasonable? No. You're now in your 50s. So I'm just giving an example, but it's not going to work. So let's get rid of that picture of when you were 16. Let's take that, stick it in your back pocket, revisit it as often as you want. Sure. But that was the past. Now you are in your 50s. You're going through menopause. We've got all kinds of changes physiologically, mentally, sleep, eating. So, and you've been through Lord knows what kind of diets you've been on throughout your life, how your sleep patterns been, how stressed you've been, all affects where we are now. But let's look at where you are, where you're trying to go, and why. Why are you,
that the why is important.
It really is.
It's so cliche, like what's your why behind it, but it really is important because it also can sort of serve as a vision And it's like when a vision can kind of create a mental image of where you want to go. And that's what kind of can keep you going.
Absolutely.
Because what do you find? I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm curious. So someone has let's say it's a reasonable goal. Let's say it's not to look like you're 16 when you're 50. Let's say it's to
such a broad example.
Right. But let's say something reasonable. Okay. What gets in their way? What is going to get in their way of achieving it? What do you think the most common thing that gets in their way of achieving what we might consider a reasonable goal? What do you think? What are they?
I think it's their mindset, and I think it's busy. So it's their way of thinking, and it's people love to be busy.
Right. Which in and of itself is a mindset. I want you to know. Think about that.
That's true. That's true. You're very right, because you believe that.
Right.
That because you're busy, you can't do certain things.
Yeah.
And this comes back to the planning. So I think it's attitude. Attitude is a lot in it.
They get it. They get in their own way. Right. They get in their own way, which is like being that busy, like feeling that or thinking that they're busy is getting in their own way.
That's
right.
True. That's true.
And then mindset, thinking
you're absolutely right.
There's no way my legs are ever going to be straight. Like that could get in my way too.
This is very true. Right? You're absolutely right.
The other
That's a very valid point.
Do you ever, people are kind of almost scared of success too, in a like, well, what if I get to this point and I actually reach the goal, then what? What's going to happen? Right. So it's almost like that fear of success or fear of failing. Like they don't even want to try because what if they fail? So fear can play a role, I think.
Even including myself, I think we're very fear driven as a society.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. That can go both ways, but we're very fear driven for sure. Yeah. And I always say we have these emotions for a reason. We just have to use them wisely. Fear can turn into stress. Fear can turn into anger. But fear can also make us do things, right, that otherwise we wouldn't do. So,
That's interesting too, because I think sometimes people who, and I'm sure this happens to you, like they've thought about using a personal trainer or hiring a personal trainer. They may have even talked to you, but it's like maybe not the right time. But when the kids go back to school or when whatever, right?
All the time.
So, and that happens to me too. And but I always think like, well, you reached out for a reason to begin with. So anyway, but then their brain starts going to places and their feelings start to come to the surface and then they feel nervous, uncomfortable, stressed, whatever. There's got to be a feeling that actually triggers you into action to say, yes, I am committed to the goal, or yes, I want to come see you twice a week, or yes, I am doing this, right? There has to be some feeling that comes to the surface to make that all happen. Because your feelings can take you the other way too, right? Can take you away from the goal or saying this isn't the right time or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's, we almost as trainers sometimes joke, and you probably have that in your profession, they come when they're ready. But unfortunately, we wish sometimes people would come even when they're not ready. Right.
Well, that's
the hard part.
Are you ever really ready? Right. That's another whole question. What does that even mean? Being ready? I don't even. Yeah. I think the very first.
I think being ready is actually showing up. So not just saying it, but showing up. Yeah, and that's the difference, right? So those people that talk about, I've always wanted a trainer. I want to do this. I want to do that, but it stays with that. Now, take the step, take the leap.
They have to be committed. It's the leap. Commitment. They're ready to commit. Yeah. That's what I think. The first podcast I think if you go back to podcast 1, I think it's about commitment. But that's what it is. That is really the currency of success, like committing, showing up, right?
Showing up. And not having so many things on your calendar that it becomes impossible for you to show up.
I know.
That you get to have people overextend themselves. They want to do everything. So they say yes to everything. I'm hiring a trainer. I have someone helping me with this. I've got this appointment. I'm running a business. I've got my kids. They're doing too much. And so at the end of the day, something has to give. There are simply not enough hours in the day. And so things start falling off. They can't. And that's the same as having that long list of unrealistic goals or break it down.
What are you committing to? Like, what are you willing out of this long list to commit to?
There you go. But it can be everything. Sometimes you have to say, now it's going to be my health and my fitness, and I'm going to focus on this part of my business and then let it be. And then now I'm going to focus again. Even that you can break down, can break that down in years. I, for instance, do a hiring promotion twice a year. And that's it. So I'm not going to stress myself out 12 months out of the year. I do it twice. And I focus on that twice, put my energy into it, and then be done with it, move on.
So as you're bringing
on
these new trainers, when you're hiring new, and a lot of them are new business owners in a sense too, right? They're starting their own personal training business. What do you think their biggest hurdles are? Or because you were really kind of coaching them through creating their own personal training business. Confidence in what?
Absolutely.
What do you think? Confidence
in themselves.
In themselves.
Kind of what you said earlier, stand in their own way, and they foresee that. That's their biggest obstacle. Their biggest obstacle becomes them, me, right? And that's what I see. And I think so that, but also fear. Again, the fear of, well, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if I don't get any clients? What if I can't promote myself on Instagram? What if? And they have to get out of their comfort zone. And, that's tough. Nobody really likes that. It's part of it. But the cool thing is, and this is what I always explain, when you go through that uncomfortable point, you come out of it. And man, it's a good feeling coming out of it. Think of your workout, right? When you hustle through it, it's just hard. Yeah. But then you're done. Like, wow, I did it. I feel kind of good. It was hard. I struggled, but that's being uncomfortable. But even with something like a podcast, the first one you did, you were probably nervous. All good, right? You were uncomfortable a little bit, but that's okay. That's how we grow. And so you do your first one. It's like, oh, I made it. It wasn't so bad. But you take out little things like, hey, I can learn this. I can do this better. Next time, I'll change that. Right. So you grow. And that's what I explain here. Don't expect to, again, go from 0 to 100.
So interesting, like going from 0 to 100 in there as a new business owner, that's not going to happen. And you have to go through the discomfort. It's not going to happen too in a physical fitness kind of goal. Like you're not going to all of a sudden, I don't know, you're only lifting 10 pounds. Tomorrow, you're not going to lift 50. That's not going to happen. That's right. Right. And then I think sometimes when I see it as I'm coaching people through their kind of, I call it like thought work, it's like everything's not going to change tomorrow. Just because we talked about this today, it's not going to change tomorrow. It's going to be a gradual process of you kind of retraining the way you're doing things and thinking about things. So all three of those are kind of you have to go through that discomfort in order to get the reward at the end.
And that builds confidence, right? So it all ties in. Actually, I think most confidence is found in failing and getting back up. And that getting back up phase, super important. That is because you have it in you to pick yourself back up and go for it again. That takes confidence, that takes strength. There's fear involved, but nonetheless, you do it through your fear. So failing is good.
I can see that, I've had some minor injuries and I've seen like going, like having to reevaluate things, relearn things. I mean, I've seen kind of that scenario too of how, and I never really felt like I'm getting old. I never felt like I was injured in the past.
You handled that very well. And this is one of the things you sought help in the right spots, right? Yep, that I think is very smart. You had the resources. Thank God. Not everybody knows what to do. No. You know what to do. So you have those resources.
Right.
But you nipped it in the bud. You did what you had to do with it. You still showed up for your workouts. So that's commitment, right? That's you essentially you're practicing what you preach to people. You say, hey, we got to be committed. Yep. I can say of you, you are one of my committed clients. You show up. You don't cancel. It's not, I was home. Seldomly you show up. You're one.
Unless I can't sleep in the middle of the night, then I can't.
Seldom, but you are one of those. So you practice what you preach, and this is true, but it doesn't happen very often. Yeah. But you're also going through some changes, as I am, as everybody will, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. So, who is your best client?
My best client is a client that's willing to learn, a client that's wanting to change, a client that is able to flow with the workouts. And it's just a client that's willing.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I always say. They have to be willing to put the work in because you can't do the work for them. You can't do the work for them, right?
No, and I don't, and we talked about this a little bit this morning, but nor should we have to. we are motivators, but I can only do so much. And I'm learning that. I'm learning to step back and say, okay, this is my role, but this is your role, and we're a team. So the moment you start failing to do your part, it changes my part too. I cannot start overreaching.
Doing your part too.
Exactly.
Right.
I can't. I used to be a trainer that would try. I put the responsibility in my client as well. We're a team.
Yes.
So as I'm working hard to try and help you through your injuries and, design these workouts and work with your changes, you have to do the same.
Yeah,
you have to be willing.
That's exactly how I think about my clients too. Like, I can't do it for you. I can't want it more than you, first of all. And if you're not kind of, I don't want to say doing the work. Sometimes I say that, but I don't think that's the best way to say it. I think if you're not wanting, I can't put in more effort than you can. It has to be kind of an equal effort scenario.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it needs to be balanced. Sometimes the scale may tip a little bit to one side and a little bit to the other, but ultimately, yes, it's a team effort.
Yeah. And I'm not willing to let them fall to the ground. If we think about a scale, so when someone feels, or I get the sense like they're falling, and I am willing to go reach and try to pick them up. Absolutely. But if I can't, then I can't, and that's okay. It's
funny that you say that. One of the ways I put it, when someone is going through a hardship, friend, client, family, I always say, I'm here for you. My hand is out there, but you have to grab it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My hand is there. It's there for the taking, but the ball is in your court. You have to be willing to grab my hand so I can help you. If you don't, that's fine, but that's on you. It's not for a lack of me wanting to be there to support you and to help you up, but you have to grab my hand. That's again, so you can reach out to someone, but someone really has to, all right, I'm ready to be hoisted up and let's go. Let's tackle this.
So what's your best piece of advice?
Best piece of advice. I know I wrote this down, of course.
Want to know what you
wrote?
Okay. So before I do my podcast, I always ask my guests. Now, I asked my guests to fill out a little questionnaire. So when Vanessa filled this out, this is what she wrote. She wrote, don't follow a rule book that has been created by someone else as to how you should live your life or move your body. Instead, follow your gut instinct and move with it. Cast away fear and just do it. Be your own someone else. Oh, I like that. Be your own someone else. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Because someone else can't create it for you. You have to be your own someone else and create it for yourself.
Yeah. And stay true to that. It's easy to hear all your friends talking about certain things that they do. Do it for you. Do it because you want to do it. Make the change, even if it looks differently than the norm, right?
Whatever that is, the norm.
Whatever. You wrote a wonderful piece. That was put together so well about not everybody's going to like you. And I love that. The way you wrote that just resonated with me. That could have been something I wrote, right? Those were my words. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Your people will find you. Your tribe will find you, will be attracted to you. And those that are not, it's fine. They'll find someone else that they're attracted to. And there's plenty to go around. But I like that. And that's kind of what I mean with the rule book as well. Don't be so hard on yourself. Let it go a little bit. Yeah. Right. Write your own story.
This has been, write your own story. Write your own story. This has been super fun. So thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you so much. So Vanessa and I, it's been 15 years. I took a little hiatus because you moved and whatever, and I moved, but I came back. So
thank God you did. And I want to say you've become my family. So I'm beyond grateful to know you, your husband, your kids, your dogs. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're good people. So thank you for having me.
We appreciate you. We all do. Even Summer and Timber appreciate you.
I love it.
So what'd you think about that? It really does come down to commitment. We get in our own way when it comes to creating habits around anything. And what did you think about being able to change your goal and not freaking out about it? Do we have to be stuck to one goal, or can we be flexible? Can we flow, like Vanessa said? So I urge you to reach out to her. Her info is in the show notes. And to follow her on Instagram because she posts some really cool stuff. And if you want to talk about how to make exercise part of your daily life, I would be happy to chat about it because it's one of my favorite topics. It's one of the things that I think really keeps me going and is an ingredient in my own success, personally and professionally. All right, my friends, until next week, remember, there's always an opportunity to level up, and there is no better time than now. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you're ready to commit to personal and professional growth, move forward, make money, and manage life, head to AndreaLiebross.com. That's AndreaLiebross.com to find out about the ways we can work together. Until next time, go level up.